about mountain instruments, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Also seeing and hearing some of them too. Aside from bringing over the ballads and the songs and stories that we heard last time, the ancestors of today's mountain people inherited a lively tradition of instrumental music and dancing. The oldest, and for a long time practically the only instrument played by people in this part of the country, was the fiddle. Some people think that the fiddle is just a slang word for violin, but actually it's the other way around. Fiddle is an Old English word that predates the French word violin. European music books that date back to the 16th and 17th centuries describe playing practices that are still used by mountain fiddlers, things like playing on 2 strings at a time, holding the fiddle on the chest, and also using a lot of short, choppy bow strokes. Another old European practice that some older mountain musicians still use is tuning the fiddle in different ways to get a full droning sound. Now here's a tune that I learned from a neighbor of mine, an 85-year-old man who was born in the mountains of East Tennessee, named Mr. George Payne. And it's called Whup the Devil Around the Stump. And Mr. Payne learned this tune over 60 years ago when he was working on a railroad gang over in in western North Carolina, rather. And a man came along who was a fiddle maker. And these men who were working on the railroad were on their lunch break, and this man came by and said, "Well, I've got some fiddles for sale, boys. Would you like to see one?" And they said, "Yeah." And he took out this one fiddle he had, and he played this tune called Whup the Devil Around the Stump. I'm going to play it for you now. One thing about playing a fiddle is that they're kind of hard to keep in tune, so you have to bear with me for a second here. In fact, some fiddlers say that if you fiddle for 60 years, you spend 20 years playing and 40 years tuning. Well, I think we're all right now. Whup the devil around the stump. Another popular mountain instrument is the banjo. The banjo was brought to America by black people in the 17th century and was soon adapted to the fiddle music of whites. In the older mountain banjo styles, we can see a lot of similarities to old-time fiddling. The use of different tunings to produce droning sounds, a lot of short, choppy picking, and some other things too. Because of rough conditions that made it hard to travel in the mountains in the old days, a number of different picking styles developed so that it's still possible today to distinguish between banjo pickers from different sections by the way they pick. People from Southwest Virginia don't sound like people from Upper East Tennessee, and they don't sound like people from Eastern Kentucky, and so on. Now here's an example of what people in Southwest Virginia normally call clawhammer style. And I believe that has something to do with the way the hand is held. It's kind of held in a stiff position. And if you looked at a hammer, it would look the same. The fingers are just kind of rigid there, and you strike down on the strings. And I'm going to play you now an old hoedown tune in this clawhammer style, which some people also call frailing or rapping. And the name of this tune is Cotton Eye Joe. Okay, now that was Cotton Eye Joe done in that Southwest Virginia clawhammer style. And now I'd like to show you a little bit of a style that's was at least more common in our part of the country, up here in East Tennessee and western North Carolina. Now some people call it Carolina style or up picking or drop thumb. And the tune I'm going to play for you is one that's actually common throughout the South. It's called Cindy, but this will give us a chance to see this thing I was talking about, changing tunings to get different sounds on the banjo. I'm going to put this into C tuning now. It was in G. This is an open G chord. Now I'm going to put it into C. Now, I think we ought to explain that up picking. Now, before, what I was doing was going down. See how my hand's going down? Well, in this style, my finger is moving up. That's why they call it up picking. on home, Cindy, Cindy, I'll marry you someday. Around the turn of this century, guitars started to become popular in the mountains. And just as black people had played an important role in developing the banjo, mountain whites took up the guitar picking styles they heard played by blacks, often as they worked together building the first railroads in this section of the country. My friend Charles Tolley, who's a teacher in Elizabethton, is going to play a favorite mountain guitar piece called Cannonball Blues. Charles. About the guitar, aside from playing melody on it like Charles just did, they are also used to back up the fiddle and the banjo in string bands. And we're going to be looking at a really fine old fiddler from Toast, North Carolina, named Tommy Gerald, playing fiddle, being backed up on banjo and guitar by two young friends of mine, Blanton Owen and Tom Carter.
Somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, yes I do. And I love somebody, yes I do. And I bet you $5 that you can't guess who.
Around 1945, a Kentucky country music singer and mandolin player named Bill Monroe added a young, talented North Carolina banjo picker named Earl Scruggs to his band, the Bluegrass Boys. And this band created such a sensation that a whole new style of music that was actually drawn from the old mountain string band style came into being. And today, bluegrass is probably the most common type of string band music in the mountains, and bluegrass or Scruggs style banjo is popular with most younger musicians. Charles, could you tell us a little something about bluegrass banjo and what makes it different from old-time banjo?
Well, as you said, bluegrass banjo is an outgrowth of the old-time style picking. It seems to have come through an evolution. And if you remember, in the last clawhammer cut that was done, you were using the forefinger to pick up on the strings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in bluegrass music, there is some picks placed on the fingers, where in the old-time music you do not use the picks. Now, we use 2 steel picks and a plastic thumb pick. Now, these picks are used to pick out all your notes. You don't do just hardly any chording at all in your picking. You hardly ever pick out of a chord. Most of your picking is just absolute straight noting. And as far as your style, you have a specific hand style. The fingers are placed on the bridge and against the head. You must pick up on the bridge with your little finger, push down on the head with your second finger from your little finger. And then you get a picking style where you pluck each separate string with your 3 picks. And this is done in a roll. And to illustrate this, we decided the easiest thing to do would be to play a song. And one of the old standbys of a bluegrass musician is Foggy Mountain Breakdown. To take a look at the father of bluegrass music himself, Bill Monroe, and his band as they appeared at Ralph Stanley's festival at McClure, Virginia last summer.
Molly and the Tinbrooks. You folks changed the name on it here for me. Molly and the Tinbrooks. Okay, we'll do that for you. Molly and Tinbrooks, and we might tie another horse or so in that with us this time. We might do Train 45 and Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Some people drove all the way from Jenkins over here.
Some folks here from Jenkins, Kentucky want Blue Moon of Kentucky. This has been a good number, Blue Moon of Kentucky, so we're going to do it for you. And we're going to do Love Come Home and maybe get another one. So stick with us. Don't leave us here.
Run, old mighty run, run, old mighty run. Tin looks gonna be the bright shining sun, to the bright shining sun, oh Lord, the bright shining sun. In smart to be play hard, run that charge me. He run all around Memphis, he beat the Memphis train, oh Lord, beat the Memphis train. See that train coming, it's coming around the curve. See the Tinbrooks running, it's training every nerve, oh Lord, it's training every nerve. Rolling all the lamp, it's turning all the crun, singing all the holler, oh 9-pound hammer, just a little too heavy. Baby, for my style, Lord, for my style. How long, buddy, don't you roll the road? Baby, how can I roll when we won't go? I'm breaking in a brand new pair of shoes. Don't look at me like you think I've got to do. Gonna walk around and around and get most of the town. I'm breaking in a brand new pair of shoes. Don't talk to yourself. Whoa, no, she ain't put me on the shelf. I'm breaking in a brand new pair of shoes. I said, blue moon up, Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone through. Blue moon up, Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gonna live. It was on the moonlight night, the stars shining bright. Hey, put the booter from behind, and you're upset just fine. Blue moon up, Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gonna say goodbye. As you read this letter that I write to you, sweetheart, I hope you'll understand that you're the only love I need. Please forgive me if you can. Sweetheart, I beg you to come home tonight. I'm so glad all alone. I promise that I'll treat you right. So love, oh, please don't. That old wind is cold and slowly creeping around, and the fire of love is burning low. The snow has covered up the ground. Your baby's hungry, sick and cold. Sweetheart, I beg you to come home tonight. I'm so glad all alone. I promise that I'll treat you right. So love, oh love, please come home.
Well, last time we started out by saying that Cecil Sharp and Maud Parples came here searching for hidden treasures and did find a wealth of music here in these southern Appalachian mountains. Now that treasure may still be here today in your grandparents, in your aunts and uncles, and your parents. Why don't you start hunting for hidden treasures yourself? Bye now.
Don't look at me like you think I've got to do. Gonna walk around and around and get most of the town. I'm breaking in a brand new pair of shoes. Don't talk to yourself. Whoa, no, she ain't put me on the shelf. I'm breaking in a brand new pair of shoes. I said, blue moon up, Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone through. Blue moon up, Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gonna live. It was on the moonlight night, the stars shining bright. Hey, put the booter from behind, and you're upset just fine. Blue moon up, Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gonna say goodbye.